For me, and for a lot of you, roleplay and character story is at the heart of TTRPGs. It's not the reason I started playing, but it's the reason I fell in love with the hobby. Me telling you to speed up roleplay, to cut it short, even to skip it entirely, might seem like sacrilege, but hear me out. Adopting the wisdom I'm about to send your way can help you enjoy roleplay at your tables even more. It'll make sure that scenes don't drag on for longer than they need to, but you can actually end up roleplaying more, better, and for longer. At our tables, we are inspired by books, by movies, and by computer games, and we want to emulate them in the way that our characters communicate. The trouble is, dialogue in these types of media is not how real people talk. It's better, it's cleaned up, it's not redundant, it's to the point and targeted at accomplishing certain things. Even with tables of professional actors and improvisers, they're not going to reach that quality of directness and speaking, though some get close. For us mere mortals playing in groups with our friends, we shouldn't hold ourselves to that standard. Even though we might sometimes have moments of brilliance, it's not realistic to expect players or yourself as GM to have the acting chops to talk like you're in a movie. And that's way too much pressure to be putting on our games. We should be embracing the asides and the organic weirdness that comes when players ask the shopkeeper to name his 16 children. P.S. GMs, this is why we have index cards full of these names to counter these kind of shenanigans. But while we can enjoy the nonsense, we should also be on the lookout for when a scene has come to an end, and how we can accelerate scenes to get to the good stuff. There's a wonderful article from Pulpit Games, the makers of Fiasco, where they argue that every edit is a good edit. You're all working towards the same goal, and ending a scene early just means that you get to do more cool scenes. In comedy improv, the trick is to edit, aka end the scene, once the who, the what, and the where has been established, and the main weird thing about a character has been shared, examined, and played with. At our tables, the unusual thing might not be the character themselves, but it could be the information that they have to impart, or developing the relationship between characters. To apply this at your tables, the way that people would edit in live performance would be for someone to shout, "and scene." If you can think of any more fun ways of saying it in a TTRPG context, I'd love to hear it in the comments, but "and scene" is the default. Edits can come from anyone, and it can be a really good way of making sure everyone is listening closely to the dialogue. I'd self-edit as GM and encourage players in the scene to do the same. But when I finally get a chance to play with my improv group, I reckon it'll be fun to say, we're just going to keep on talking until we're edited, and see what that does to the pacing of the story. It's important that all involved have a veto on an edit. If a character has something important that can't wait, that's a moment to veto, but you should only use this if it's essential. GMs, I'm hoping we're all following the lazy DM advice of having floating secrets and clues. So if a fact doesn't come up in one conversation, have a way to mention it in the next, or make it apparent to the players in another way. Something to watch is that ending scenes early will feel strange the first time you do it, and you'll feel like you're being rude to the people in the scene. You know how no one ever says goodbye on the phone in movies? Well, that's the slickness you'll get from editing your scenes. As mentioned in the article, as long as you're doing these edits from a place of trust and from love with your group, it's totally fine. Let's get to the really controversial stuff now. Can we skip scenes completely? Using the framing from improv where we look for the weird thing, thinking about player to NPC dialogue moments, if there isn't a weird thing, then it shouldn't be roleplayed at all. This means that shopping, getting instructions from a quest giver, even being challenged by the city guards, can all be skipped if there's no extra information to impart, or there's no risk of things getting derailed. I still love these sorts of scenes. The first time the characters walk into a shop selling trinkets and oddities from across the world, where the owner glares over her steel-rimmed glasses at these boorish adventurers sullying her establishment. It's absolutely something I want to roleplay. But unless she becomes a key character with information to impart, we can totally skip shopping session number 3 onwards. Of course, the trouble is, she already sounds like a fun character that my players would totally want to interact with all the time. So good luck finding a balance for implementing this one. It's tricky. Another brilliant way to speed up roleplay scenes and to make sure that no one feels left out is something that I learned in primary school, and I'll use it in my online games where latency is an issue. People talk over each other, then apologise, then say, no, after you, no, after you, and the momentum has gone from a scene. If there's already a conversation happening and a player wants to speak, they put their hand up. It's so simple, but has already saved my groups a ton of time. It's then on the people in the scene to notice this and invite them in. Bonus points if this can be done in character. You odd little goblin lurking at the back of the group. You wish to address me? If this means that a player who was speaking is then backgrounded in the scene, they'd need to put their hand up again in order to join back in. Depending on your platform, you could use an on-screen token, rather than sitting for ages with your hand like this. A useful variant to this is to make sure that players make it clear when they have nothing more they want to do in a scene. I'll ask my players to signal if they're finished, and the rule is that they're not allowed to jump back in while we tidy up any remaining loose ends, unless there's a major bombshell that gets dropped later in the scene. Please remember that these tips are not about role-playing less or minimising that part of the game. They're about role-playing better. They're about cutting down on all the fluff and the extra stuff and just honing in on the good stuff, where characters can develop, the narrative can move on, and everyone can have a really fun time at your table. This has been one of 3 videos about speeding up different parts of your game. If you're watching this video just as it's come out, then right now, boop, boop, I'm going to be pointing into space. But that looked really cool if you see videos there. There's one on combat and one on planning. How to speed up your game in lots of different ways. I'll see you there.